Turd Podcast, episode 160, Lamar, Firenado.
Well, Joe, we are starting off the year. They have ran out of things to combine tornadoes with, so they just went to one of the original elements, fire. Oh, Joe, I can already tell how you felt about this movie, but boy, oh boy, it's a way to start off this new year. Whew, boy.
Well, it's got a good title, the good trailer.
Yes.
I mean, we thought we were getting something to equivalent to Sharknado, a combination of fire and a tornado, right?
We did, but not in the dosage I think we wanted. I think that's fair to say.
Yes. Well, We'll start like we always start. What do we rate the story?
Okay, the rundown of the story. There are these. It's kind of like Twister. It's these group of people that chase, tornadoes and all this stuff. And it takes place in is it Britain?
I guess.
Wow, you're enthusiastic. The main character is Anna, and she's on an internship. She's kind of, not feeling great about being on this internship, but she's, with this group led by one of my favorite people, Devlin. And there was another woman, Helena. And then we also had, I think his name was Greg or George? What was his name?
I don't know.
Anyway, they come across a tornado, and this tornado is bad. It's a bad one, but it's not super bad until it runs into a gas station and catches on fire. But
there's a subplot.
There's a subplot in this where, they are people around grassy Britain, because this is not in the city. This is like up in the hills. These gangsters are like, this is the perfect time for us to rip off this guy that's been stealing money from us.
Yeah.
So we're going to slip in while the tornado is going on and rip off this guy.
And then the two groups kind of collide the storylines.
We'll say yes, collide. Yeah.
But what are we rating it then?
I gotta say, Joe, I wanted more focus on the Firenado, and we're gonna talk about this because the characters, boy, oh boy. I have to say, I have to give this a half a point because I thought it was going to be them trying to stop the Firenado, and then there's a bunch of stuff that happens where you're just like, this is not about the Firenado. This is just blah. Yeah.
Well, I'm tempted to give it a 0, Lamar. I'll give it a half a point because the premise is good, right?
Right.
But yeah, it doesn't focus at all on the Firenado, and it's one of those things where it seemed like they had like a different movie in mind, and then at some point they were like, you know what? Let's throw a Firenado into it.
That sounds about right. What if that was the thing? Like they had this like footage from a movie that didn't make it, and then they were like, well, you have Firenado, just add some stuff about it in another scene, and then we'll just make it, all put together.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to the next category then. It's the characters. What do we think of the characters and all the acting and everything?
Oh, you mentioned acting. Well, Devlin, the leader of the group, God bless this man, but his overacting is something to be.
You're talking about the doctor, right? The scientist.
Yeah.
I liked him. I thought he was doing a Doc impression. Was he doing a
like
Doc
impression? Brown?
Yeah. Was he?
I don't know. He was just always.
Yeah, that's why I thought he was trying to do a Doc Brown impression.
But see, with Doc Brown, I feel like he's more eccentric. This guy was just like on some type of drug or something like that before they went out to go see the Firenado.
The best acting in the movie, and I don't know if this counts for our next category of special effect. The best acting in this movie is at one point they're in a van. And they're driving, and it looks like an episode of fucking like Scooby-Doo or some shit.
I know what scene you're talking about, yes.
I actually laughed at that, I must say.
Well, he was, and then there was a henchman that was crazy. He was just doing wild stuff. And then we have to talk about another person who did we determine if this guy was British or not? Pierce,
The guy they were
um,
trying to rip off
the
or
guy they were
whatever.
trying to rip off, was he British or not?
It to me it sounded like a real southern guy trying to do a British accent or
It
something.
was really weird. I was just kind of like, because it almost flip flopped. Like he
Yeah.
would sound English, then country, then a
Yeah.
combination of the two. Like, ugh.
So what do we rate characters?
Uh,
I mean, there were characters, and they were different from each other. Like you had the bad guys,
yes.
you had the doctor guy, he had his assistant, you had the intern girl. I'll give it a half point. They had characters. They weren't the greatest.
Half point. Let's do it. Go ahead. Oh man.
Well, Lamar, this is a disaster movie, and most disaster movies have special effects. What do we think of the effects, Lamar?
Okay, so the Fire NATO was definitely like a stock thing that they put in there and then
Yeah.
combined with fire. If you're gonna name a movie Fire NATO and you have bad special effects, go all out. I feel like
Yes.
they were kind of lazy with the special effects. Like,
Yeah. There
ugh.
wasn't a lot, and I was expecting gloriously bad special effects.
Yes,
And it was just basically the one, like you said, almost stock footage looking thing that was kind of there. Nothing special. So I'm gonna give it a 0 for special effects, Lamar.
it's almost like we're on the same wavelength. I agree. Like, if you're gonna name your movie Fire NATO,
Yeah.
and the poster it had like cities burning and stuff
Yeah.
like that, you put the stock image of the city like with fire and crap. You do that. This one
Well,
didn't do it.
that leads perfectly to our next category, which is the actual fire NATO, and what could have been done with it, Lamar.
You show freaking more crappy effects of like cities burning, like going all through and stuff like that. There was one thing that I get, but it was kind of dumb. They just showed like a red light when they were in a house just
Yeah,
beaming on
okay,
them.
I'll accept that. No,
But even that was bad too. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
my big problem with the fire NATO was it never got to the point where it was like we gotta get all the government, and they have that big scene where they're trying to figure out, well, how are we gonna stop it? It's growing, and now it's spawning more fire. Like it never got epic.
I think it goes back to what we were talking about, where this movie was something
It
else,
was
and they
something
just
else. Yeah.
threw Fire NATO in it. What's the movie? What was it? Volcano with like Tommy Lee Jones, Don Cheadle, where they're all trying to grip,
Yeah.
resources to stop the volcano. Something like that with a lesser budget. Do that. Yes.
Well, I'm gonna give it another 0 for Fire NATO, Lamar. Like it never went full epic.
I have to agree with you. If you're gonna name your movie Fire NATO, look, Sharknado, as silly as it is, which we have to talk about one day.
Yeah.
You see the sharks in the freaking tornado.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be bad. I mean, I don't care if the effects are bad, like, cause it's so preposterous is what makes it fun.
Yes.
Well, our last category, Lamar. Sequel potential. Are we willing to give these people another shot at this? Do we want to see a Fire NATO sequel?
No.
No?
Because the problem is that you don't have they didn't go full tilt with the premise. That's the problem.
And you
They
don't think that
didn't
they would go that way again with the next
I
one?
don't think they get it. Like, for people like us, when we see Fire NATO, we expect crappy special effects, people getting, because there was one crappy effect that made me laugh in this movie, but we wanted more of that. Like where someone got killed, but then you see like this more of like the tornado just burning through people,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the thing about it is, at first it seemed like an awesome premise, a Fire
Yeah.
NATO. But then if you think about it, unlike Sharknado, there's not much you can do with it. It's just a tornado that's on fire.
I disagree, Joe.
Yeah?
I think you can do more with the plot where they have to figure out how to stop it.
Right.
Like they have a bunch of things to
But
stop,
that should
and
have
then
been
it
in
can
this
burn off.
movie. I'm not going to let
That's
them
the
restart
problem.
it with that.
That's the problem. They didn't do it in this movie. That's what it should have been. Yes.
Right. And you would say the sequel should be bigger and badder is what I'm saying. But like, what else could it do? It's just a tornado on fire. Like Sharknado, like it's swooping up the sharks. It's like, spitting them out and shit. Like in the end, this is just a tornado that's on fire.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if they missed their opportunity. I'm not sure they can go somewhere else with it.
They have potential with the idea. They squashed it with this first movie.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So what are we giving it there for?
I give it a 0. I can't. I can't do it, man. I wanted more. Like I wanted like you said, the government agencies. How do we stop it? Maybe we could use water. Blah 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 blah.
Then it's like a grease fire, so you can't put it out with water.
Yeah, and then they fail, and then you have the one person that's like, well, we have to drop a bomb in it. No, you can't do that. You're going to destroy the city. Then they find some random idea, and then they have to race against. That's what the movie should have been.
What if they send the Firenado back in time to her
time portal? Oh, why?
Wait,
did
hold on.
Know you were going to say.
Let me finish. You don't ever let me finish. That's the problem.
I knew you were going to mention this. I knew when we started talking about solutions.
If we send it through a portal back in time to like the Ice Age, and then the fire keeps the ice, it melts the ice and keeps the ice from killing off the dinosaurs. So then in the future, we still have dinosaurs because of the fire. I thought the
dinosaurs were killed by a comet.
It could have been ice, Lamar. What happens if it was ice that froze them to death?
Well, why are you sending it all the way? How are you going to capture a Firenado and send it back in time?
No, we figure out its path. We open a portal. It goes through the path, the portal. It goes back in time, melts the ice. The dinosaurs are still alive, and now we have dinosaurs. Like, we could be riding pterodactyls right now.
I feel like you tried to solve one problem and made a bigger problem, because dinosaurs weren't like good for humans. Like,
but that would
Jurassic Park.
But you see, that would have opened it up for another sequel.
I guess. I mean, I thought we were staying with the Firenado thing. What do we call
it?
Like,
but you see, the Firenado
or something.
The Firenado causes dinosaurs in the future, and they still didn't put out the Firenado. It's still going, but we also have dinosaurs.
I damn near want to see that movie idea. Like somebody was like, well, we have a time machine. We can make the portal big enough. We can send it back in time.
Yeah.
But why would you?
Anyways, well, I gave it 0 points for a sequel. So
me too, yeah.
We tally the score, Lamar, and this movie gets a 1 out of 5.
Firenado has potential to be something. It didn't live up to its premise. It didn't. No. Sad to say. No. Sometimes that's what it is, Joe. And we start off the year sometimes with the dud, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Does that wrap it up then?
Yes.
All right. Firenado. Peace.
Deuces.